This is a story about government censorship. Right now, it's about Donald Trump's right-wing MAGA government censorship. If he gets away with it, it could break truly very long precedents and be used or abused by others. But right now, it's MAGA censorship, first and foremost. It's now immediately become a scandal for Trump's communications official, Brendan Carr. He's facing calls to investigate what he did here and some calls on the left for his resignation. Others are speaking out against the First Amendment abuses. We have more on that. There's also the question of how these companies responded to an extraordinary exertion of political pressure from powerful Trump officials. As the New York Times put it, Trump aides seizing on what many identify today as a pretext, meaning this isn't the real reason, even if other people are justifiably concerned about these statements, but a pretext of Kimmel's reference to MAGA leaders' initial response to what was that terrible Kirk shooting. And the Federal Communications Commission has been pulled into this in a way we haven't seen before because, again, if you're just tuning in or if aliens were landing on Earth and wondering how we do things in this country, the FCC, as you already know, is not in the comedy review business, nor is it supposed to be in the political and democratic censorship business. So let me get this out of the way. The FCC's actual job is a regulator dealing with communications, promoting competition. That means protecting against, for example, monopolies or one person or company owning too much media in one place. And they deal with regulations for new technologies to flourish alongside diversity and localism. That's diversity of the press, something the Trump administration opposes. They want only their views. And then localism doesn't have to be left or right, just the idea that we care about people getting local coverage in the country. But now under Trump, they have a Project 2025 vet, FCC Chairman Carr, who has a totally different approach. And he is seizing these powers and seeing from the courts and the companies whether he gets away with it. So he went on this MAGA podcast, publicizing a quite literal series of demands. And he pushed Trump's longstanding grudge against Kimmel, calling him kind of a sick project or the work that he does being sick, and then outlining a very specific public plan that ABC should suspend Kimmel, many wondering whether this will probably be a cancellation. It has been covered that way, but initially the demand was suspend Kimmel, or the FCC would make it hard on the company.
You know, when you look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible, a very reasonable, minimal step that can be taken. I mean, obviously, look, there's calls for Kimmel to be fired. I think, you know, you could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. And again, you know, the FCC is going to have remedies that we could look at.
We have remedies. Be careful. Now, Carr's appearance, that was yesterday daytime. As you know, if you're watching this, by night, they had made the announcement. It set off rushed emergency meetings. Kimmel was going to address this issue and those remarks, and there was apparently a script because he normally has a show. Then at the local level, or that next level down, Nexstar, which is a huge ABC affiliate, they distribute more ABC than any other affiliate, announced it was basically going to preempt Kimmel indefinitely. And top leadership at Disney and ABC felt that bottom-up pressure from them, plus whatever backroom dealings we don't know about, plus Carr going public. And then we got to here. And I just want to slow down for a minute and make sure we understand what we're witnessing. Because when the news first broke last night, it looked bad. In a First Amendment sense, it looked suspicious. But very quickly, you have all of this other evidence. And that spells out a government censorship campaign. And there are people, and maybe there's more people than usual, who say, if it's for their team or their side, anything goes. But that is, of course, the definition of being lawless. And we aspire to more than being lawless in this country. When it comes to free speech, it's the First Amendment for a reason. So what this looks like is an unconstitutional effort from the government to censor and punish speech. And the wider history is that Donald Trump doesn't hide the ball on these things. It's not a secret. He's not mysterious. If this were a case, as I've mentioned in our coverage, it would hurt the administration, it would hurt the Trump administration as the defendant in a free speech case if they've admitted to all this, because then it looks like the government has a grudge, is unconstitutionally political, and
for
then
Republicans,
comes up with or brings
the current
other
trajectory
later
raises
reasons as the pretext.
concern.
That would be the tough evidence against them. And then you have the fact that everybody knows this. Jimmy Kimmel had emerged, in fact, more so than some Democrats or writers, because of his reach in media and comedy and culture, as a very consistent and, some would say, effective critic of Donald Trump. And Trump's responding to Kimmel now, not by saying, okay, thanks, glad we got that done. Quite the opposite. Continuing a drumbeat that we've been covering, where when a law firm or a university or a media company gives in to him, he immediately demands more. You have to ask yourself what these executives, including Disney's chief Bob Iger, who we'll get to in a moment, what they think their strategy is. Because immediately after the Kimmel suspension, Trump is publicly demanding other companies oust other hosts, including, full disclosure, our sister channel, NBC, on the entertainment side. And we work with NBC News. We don't do much directly with NBC Entertainment, but he is naming two hosts over there that he wants fired from their late night appearances. Meanwhile, his enforcer appeared on Fox News and basically admitted the improper motive.
They're now facing the consequences of the choices that they've made to appeal to a very, very narrow audience. Again, you can do that. You can start a podcast. You can go on YouTube. But if you're going to have a license from the FCC, we expect you to broadly serve the public interest. I'm very glad to see that America's broadcasters are standing up to serve the interests of their community. We don't just have this progressive foie gras coming out from New York and Hollywood.
Number one, he's admitting they don't like that it's progressive. That's not what the government's supposed to do. You could substitute the word conservative, MAGA, or any other persuasion. The government is not supposed to, through the FCC or frankly any other part of the government, punish what he calls progressive foie gras. Okay, that's one. Two, legal fact check. The public interest standard is not something that he can just make up and lie about. There is a standard in the FCC rules and under the governing provision by Congress, if you want to get into it, Title 47, about what the public interest means. And it doesn't mean a sitting politician who doesn't like someone because they criticize him just throwing around the word public interest. As for the attack on television, well, we can all discuss how the media has been changing, but Jimmy Kimmel gets over 1.7 million TV viewers, roughly, and has broken out.
In an escalating controversy over alleged government censorship, the Trump administration faces accusations of abusing federal power to silence critics in the media. At the center is FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr, who has drawn sharp criticism for pressuring ABC to suspend late-night host Jimmy Kimmel following controversial remarks Kimmel made about conservative figures' initial responses to a tragic school shooting. Critics argue this represents a blatant attempt at MAGA-aligned censorship, potentially setting dangerous precedents for free speech violations. The incident stems from Kimmel's on-air comments referencing Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk and reactions to the shooting. Carr, appearing on a conservative podcast, labeled Kimmel's conduct as some of the sickest possible and suggested suspension or firing as a reasonable, minimal step. He hinted at FCC remedies if the network failed to act, escalating what many see as political retaliation. This prompted emergency meetings at ABC and Disney, its parent company, leading to an announcement that a major ABC affiliate would preempt Kimmel's show indefinitely. The move has been portrayed as yielding to intense pressure from Trump officials, with reports of backroom dealings amplifying concerns. Legal experts and free speech advocates have condemned the actions as unconstitutional, emphasizing that the FCC's mandate focuses on regulating communications to promote competition, diversity, and localism, not policing comedy or political commentary. The agency is not empowered to act as a content censor, yet Carr's public demands have pulled it into unfamiliar territory. Opponents point to this as part of a broader Trump-era grudge against media figures who criticize him, with Kimmel emerging as a prominent target due to his large audience, over 1.7 million TV viewers nightly and 20 million YouTube subscribers. Following the suspension, Trump intensified his attacks, publicly calling for other networks to oust their late-night hosts, including those at NBC. He suggested revoking licenses for outlets providing only bad publicity, a statement that directly contradicts FCC rules and could serve as evidence in potential lawsuits. Carr, in a Fox News appearance, admitted the pushback stems from disdain for progressive content, arguing broadcasters must broadly serve the public interest under their FCC licenses. However, the public interest standard, outlined in Title 47 of U.S. Code, does not authorize punishing ideological views. It's meant to ensure media diversity and prevent monopolies. This episode has sparked calls from the left for Carr's resignation and investigations into his conduct. Some see it as a pretext for deeper vendettas, with the New York Times describing the shooting reference as a cover for long-standing animosities. Broader implications include chilling effects on journalism and entertainment, as companies weigh settling disputes or facing regulatory hurdles. For instance, a $6 billion media deal currently under FCC review has been linked to the pressure campaign, with Carr implying cooperation could smooth approvals. Experts label Carr's threats a shakedown, warning that acquiescence invites further demands. One affiliate even suggested Kimmel donate to Kirk's group, an unusual escalation blending political coercion with financial pressure. Trump allies frame it as accountability for biased media, but critics counter that substituting conservative for progressive in Carr's rhetoric would reveal the hypocrisy. The controversy echoes a 2023 Supreme Court ruling, unanimous including Trump appointees, which barred government officials from coercing private entities to suppress disfavored views. This precedent could bolster challenges if networks litigate rather than comply. As pressure mounts on Disney CEO Bob Iger and others, the saga underscores tensions between a partisan administration and independent media, raising alarms about eroding First Amendment protections in an era of polarized politics. If unchecked, it could embolden future abuses across ideological lines, undermining democratic discourse. The administration has not hidden its motives, with officials openly advocating a big government role in shaping media conduct to align with their agenda, rather than serving the public at large. As the fallout continues, it highlights the fragile balance between regulatory oversight and free expression in American broadcasting.